Can you believe this eye look is $5? Can you believe? Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back. I'm so excited for today's video. Today we're gonna do something really fun, something that I have been looking forward to for like quite a few days. We are going to be doing a full face of everything under $6. Does that make sense? We're gonna be doing a full face and everything that I use is gonna be under $6. I really wanted to do a $5 one just to make it like even, but the one foundation that I have is $6, so I was like, let me just make it $6. I have been to Target, I've been to Ulta, I've been to Walmart, I have been everywhere trying to collect like the best of the best with the perfect price tag. I'm gonna cut myself off before I keep on talking about how excited I am about this. Let's go ahead and get started. So I wanted to do this video mainly because you can kind of pick and choose what you want. Yes, it's fun that I found so many gems that are under $6, but I also felt like you can kind of pick and choose what works best for you. So my skin already is prepped. I have my morning skincare on, which is some hyaluronic acid, some eye cream, and then some CeraVe moisturizer. Is it CeraVe? It might be Cetaphil. I don't remember. Since I'm going to start with eyes, I added a little bit of concealer on my eyelids. I like to start with eyes first just because in case there's a little bit of fallout, I like to be able to wipe it away before I focus on my base. Now, the eye palette that I have is one that I have used before. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icon shadow palette in the shade Call Me Sunshine, and it's so stunning and the formula is amazing, but it's very neutral. They have other palettes with different shades. This is the one that I went with just because I love all the chocolatey warm tones. I think this was like $5 and some change from Walmart, I want to say. I'm going to try and only use Morphe brushes because I know that they're super inexpensive and very accessible. The first one that I'm going to use is this Morphe M506 brush. This brush makes an appearance in all of my tutorials because it is one of my favorites. This is like a staple brush for me. Go and pick it up if you don't already have it. I'm gonna take the darkest shade in this palette, which is this one right here. And these Wet n Wild eyeshadows are so buttery. I'm just gonna show you. So I'm gonna take my brush, dip it in ever so lightly, tap off the excess, and I'm gonna focus this in the crease and a little bit right here. I really wanted to do this because I wanted to show you guys that makeup is mostly about technique and the skills that you learn and the techniques that you pick up in order to create something really gorgeous. And it really doesn't matter about price point. Yes, there are some things that are going to be more expensive that might be a little bit nicer, but it really all comes down to technique. It really all comes down to what you can do with what you already have. I also just wanted to showcase some amazing products that are like have an insane price point, being very light-handed, just because this is the darkest shade that I am using. So I really want to control it and not blow it out too much. I'm trying to give myself a little shape too. So I like to pull my eyeshadow out just to lift my eyes a little bit because I have pretty downturned eyes. So that's what I'm trying to do with the darkest shade. And then with all the other shades that I pack on top of this, I'm gonna follow the same shape. Really want to do a very full glam look for this video because I feel like with inexpensive products we almost always think like very natural looks, but I want to do like a full-on beat. Don't really worry about being messy with it or getting shadow everywhere. We can go in and clean it up when it's finished. So I think I'm happy so far with that shape. I'm gonna go ahead and do my other eye now too. When I go to drag this in, I'm trying to focus it mostly on the crease so that I don't bring it up too high. Otherwise I won't have that like nice gradient between shadows. Once they're somewhat even, I am going to go in and take this shade right here. For that shade, I'm going to take this Morphe M433, which is a nice fluffy brush. It's like fluffy but flat. Really good brush. There's a lot of kickback with the shadow, so I like to tap it off. There's nothing really wrong with kickback, for me at least. I don't know about you guys. And I'm going to take it on the perimeter of where I put that dark shade. Like, look how well these shadows are blending into each other. $5 eyeshadow palette. So now that I have a pretty good blend going on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first brush that I used again, this Morphe M506, with that same dark shade, and I'm going to pack more on, and this time I'm going to really try to blend it into the second shade that we used. using like these teeny circular motions. And this is how we're going to get that gradient, is by going in and blending the first shade with the second shade and the second shade with the first shade, and just really going in with each one and making sure they're married to each other. Takes a lot of time, but the outcome is very beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and do this eye now. As you can see, the lid is also quite sloppy, but we're gonna go in and cut the crease, so it doesn't really matter. Now I want to add a very almost flesh colored tone to the perimeter of this shadow, and I'm gonna use it on a very fluffy but precise brush. This is a Morphe M562. It's super fluffy, but it's very small, which is good for this type of work. I'm gonna take this light shadow right here, and we're gonna focus just on the perimeter. I'm happy with the way that looks, so now we're going to move on to cutting the crease. I'm going to be using the same concealer that I used to prime my eyes, which is the Wet n Wild Incognito concealer. This is in the shade medium neutral. Little goes a long way, and I'm going to take a brush. The one that I'm going to be using is an Anastasia brush, which is a little more expensive, but you can use this little Real Techniques brush, this Morphe brush. This is a Morphe M421 brush. You can use this little Real Techniques brush. This is an accent brush. There's a few options, but I'm going to use what I know works for me, which is this Anastasia brush, and we're going to let the brush pretty much do all the work for us. It's gonna be at first cutting out the outline of the cut crease, so I have just a little bit on my brush. I'm gonna take my mirror, feeling blind, stamping it first. Like I said, letting the brush do most of the work, and then slowly feathering it in. Make sure you're opening your eye so that your cut crease isn't too low. Make sure you're going slow. Don't rush yourself. Take it easy. You can do it. What a lot of people like to do too is take some makeup remover and carve out the crease with some makeup remover and a Q-tip. I don't really like to do that just because I'm lazy. And I like to just do one step and go in with a concealer or like a P. Louise. If you feel like it's going to help you get a better outline for your cut crease, totally do that. And there you go. I don't bring mine in too far just because I like to have a very deep outer corner, but if you want to bring it all the way in, it's totally your call. I am going to do one eye at a time just because the concealer will start to crease and I really want to avoid that. The shadow that I'm going to take for the innermost part of the cut crease, because I think I'm going to take two shadows. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to take this Morphe brush, which is the first one that I used, and I'm going to go like this ever so lightly, because I don't want a stark line between the concealer and the eyeshadow. So I'm going to go like this and really mesh the two. I'm not bringing it all the way in. I'm just really focusing on where the two meet. And look at that. Oof. I really like to do cut creases with my eye looks because I feel like it gives it a very elevated look. Even though we're using a $6 eyeshadow palette, it's going to look like we're using a Natasha Denona or a Pat McGrath. It can look a lot more bougie, a lot more expensive than it actually is. So the first shade that I'm going to use for my innermost part of the cut crease is this one right here, which is the lightest shimmer in the palette. You can go in with a matte if you want to make this an all matte look. You can go in with like a setting powder, or if you're using a different palette, you can go in with the lightest matte shade. I'm just going to use what I have, and I'm going to take the shimmer that's in here. I'm going to take this Morphe M421, which is just a nice flat shader brush, and I'm going to pack it on there. If you want to make it that much more shiny, you can take some setting spray, or even like a spray of water and put it on the brush, but it doesn't matter that much to me. And I'm going to follow the curve of the cut crease and make sure not to go above it. Wow. Do you guys freaking see that? $5 freaking. You can use this as a highlighter too if you want, like on your face. Okay, so once I have it a little bit more than halfway in, I'm going to do something crazy. I am nervous about doing it, but I think it's going to elevate the look even more. As you can see, there's like all these. You can see my fingerprints from like when I first got this and swatched it. But I want to take one of these and use it to marry this dark matte shade with the light shimmer. I think I'm going to use this one right here. because it's kind of the same texture as the white one. So I'm going to flip my brush over, pack it on, get up close and personal. I'm going to start out here and work it in. This is really going to help marry these two shades and again give it a nice gradient. I like to do this technique because if I feel like if I go from just shimmered to like dark matte shades, it doesn't really look good. So I like to take a dark shimmer to match the texture. And if you feel like you went too far in, you can go back in on the other side of that brush and pack it on over what you just did. Look at that eye. $5. All about technique, I'm telling you. Price point doesn't matter. Well, sometimes it does, but price point doesn't usually matter. I went ahead and I curled my lashes off camera after I finished my eyes, and I'm going to apply some mascara. I have two here that you can use. They are both from Essence, which is a great brand in general, but it's also really great for mascaras. These are the Volume Stylist 18-Hour Lash Extension and Curl and Hold Mascara. These are really good. Great bang for your buck. I think these are like $5, but I'm going to go in with this one first. This is the lash extension one. This is my all-time favorite because it really lengthens your lashes. I am going to go in with false lashes later, and if you don't like lashes, you can just leave your eye look here. So this is personal preference, but I like to go in with a makeup wipe at this stage just to clean up the edges. You can use your concealer or your foundation. You can use micellar water and a cotton bud. You can use water and a cotton swab. You can use whatever you want, whatever you have on hand. I like to just give myself a nice clean line. See how much of a difference it makes? Again, this is just one of those things. It's all about technique and less about how expensive the products are. Alright, so we're going to move on to face. I'm not going to use a primer. I know that there are a bunch of inexpensive primers on the market, but I don't have one on hand and I didn't pick one up. And I feel like my skincare is going to act as a nice primer. Now, this is a foundation that I heard about from Casey Holmes, which is like the OG. She and I have very similar skin, so once she did a video on this, I was like, I definitely want to pick it up. It is very inexpensive, but I will tell you, in Walmart where I found this, the shade range is garbage, trash. Absolute trash. Online, there is a wider range, but in the store, the shade range is atrocious. This is the Hard Candy Glamiflage Full Coverage Foundation. I have this in the shade 1512 Warm Honey. I have my sponge on hand. This is the e.l.f. sponge, which is a really inexpensive alternative to a beauty blender, but I'm going to use this Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. This is one of my favorite foundation brushes. It has a doe foot applicator to apply. Now, I hope this shade that I bought, I think this is going to be good. This is not going to match my skin on my face, but it is going to match my neck because I self-tan because I have an allergy to the sun. I'm going to go in and swipe it on. I think this foundation is like $6. Oh wow, it is thick. It's like a perfect match to my self-tan. I mean, look how much it's covering. It is very thick. I will tell you that. But it doesn't feel thick on the skin. This is very full coverage. If you're someone who likes a no makeup look, I don't know if you'll like this. Then I'll take my sponge and I'll run it over my foundation just to pick up any excess so that I don't look cakey. We're going to go back in with this Wet n Wild concealer. This is the Incognito concealer. I think this is like $4. This is what we use to cut the crease. We're going to go ahead and use this on our face now. I do also have this e.l.f. one that's $7, so it's a little bit more expensive, but I have this just in case this one is too dark. I'm going to do one eye at a time because I don't remember if this like dries fast. This actually might be a really good shade. I don't know. Might have to lighten it up. Kind of looks like it's the same shade as this foundation. I'll add a little more coverage right here. I am going to go in with a dot of this e.l.f. concealer just to lighten it up. Just brightens it up a little bit. I like to give a more highlighted effect to the center of my face. I am going to take the e.l.f. one down the center of my face just because it's a little bit lighter. You guys can take your Wet n Wild one. I just have it in the wrong shade. I don't want a very stark contrast, but I do want that definition. Now, this is a palette that I've had for quite a bit of time. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Contouring Palette. It has a highlight shade and a bronzing slash contour shade. We're gonna use the lighter shade to set where we just put that concealer. This is an e.l.f. small tapered brush, very inexpensive brush, and I'm gonna use that and dip into the banana shade. There's a lot of kickback with this, so be warned. I'm just gonna set underneath. I'm gonna hit the forehead and down the center of the face, just wherever we did that concealer. I'm gonna actually take the other side of this palette and I'm gonna take the contour shade right here and I'm gonna use this, what is this? Real Techniques contour brush, ever so lightly. There's a lot of kickback on this, so truly, ever so lightly, do a smidge of contouring. And I'm doing this above where the hollows of my cheeks are, like a smidge above, so that I can blend out and it won't look muddy or misplaced. Let me get my big giant forehead as well. After that contour, I like to go in with my bronzer. This I have been using for a lot of my videos recently because it is a great dupe for the Fenty Beauty Sunstalker bronzer. This is the Rimmel Natural Bronzer in the shade Sun Bronze. Not too cool toned, not too warm toned. Even though there are like flecks of shimmer in here, it's definitely a matte bronzer. I'm gonna take it on this Morphe M530. If you're gonna pick up this brush, just be warned, it sheds like a mother. I still think it's a great brush, even though I end up with like brush hairs in my mouth. And I start back here in my hairline to deposit the most color, and then I'll bring it in. And I'm not going below the contour that I just put down. I'm just staying above it and kind of blending the contour into the rest of my base. I'm gonna take this Real Techniques brush. This is a blush brush, and I'm going to take this Essence blush. It's just called The Blush, and it's a very soft pink shade. So I'm really going to pack this on my brush. I'm focusing my blush back here because it really helps to lift my face. So I'm not going to bring it in too far on the cheeks. For highlighter, I really don't like wearing highlighter, so if you want, you guys can take this shadow that's in here, the one that we used on the lid, on like that small tapered brush by e.l.f. I'm not gonna do that. I feel like it just adds more texture to my skin that's already really textured. So I'm gonna do my brows and my lashes off camera. This is the Essence Baby Got Brow. This is in the shade Light Brunette, and I'm gonna apply some of these Ardell Wispies. These are like OG lashes. You can get these for like $5, I wanna say. These are very inexpensive and they're very good lashes. I'm gonna apply some of these, I'm gonna do my brows, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm gonna do the lower lash line, and I'm gonna take a little smudger brush and take the darkest shade, and I'm gonna go right up against the lash line and pack it on. Not gonna go all the way in though, because it's gonna make my eye look smaller. I'm really just bringing it like halfway in. And then I'm gonna take a pencil brush. This is the Morphe M431, and I'm going to take that second shade and I'm going to blend out that darker shade. Okie dokie. For lips, I'm going to take some NYX lip liners. There's the suede ones, the suede lip pencils by NYX that are really good, but they're a little more expensive. These are just the regular NYX lip pencils, and they're so good. This is in the shade Nude Beige. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's just a very deep, cool toned nude. I like to overline my lips. You don't have to do that. And like realistically, you can use this all over the lips. You don't even have to go in with a lipstick. Or even on the flip side, you don't even have to use a lip liner. You can just go right in with a lipstick. The one I'm going to be using is by Maybelline. It's in the shade Daringly Nude. I think this is a perfect dupe for the MAC Honey Love lipstick, which I love. The formula is like the same and the color is pretty much the same. I'm just gonna blend that into the lip liner. So the one thing, of course, that I don't have that's under $6 is liner that I'm gonna use to bring back my birthmark. I know that there's a lot of good ones out on the market. I just don't have one. This is the One Size Point Made gel liner pencil. So I'm gonna take that and just bring back my birthmark. And there she is. So guys, I hope that you all enjoyed this tutorial. This was so flippin' fun. This foundation is so freaking good. Definitely go pick this foundation up. I'm hoping that it'll last for a while. I mean, I don't really have anywhere to go, and I'm probably gonna take this makeup off right after I'm done filming, but the next time I wear it, I'll definitely let you guys know. I hope that you all enjoyed. Make sure that you guys are subscribed and that you hit the little bell so that you are always notified for when I put up a new video. And I think that is it for today's look, you guys. I will see you all in my next one. Bye.